UK Independence Party, Nigel Farage. He helped engineer the UK's exit from the European Union, so-called Brexit. Sir, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it. So you've called 2016 the year of political revolution, first with Brexit, then with the election of President-elect Trump, a surprise win. Mr. Trump's called for an end to what he called the false song of globalism. What do you think globalism is? What is it to you, and why should it end?
Well, it depends. I mean, you're quite right. Globalism can be a good thing in the sense that the world's becoming a smaller place. We're more interconnected. There are lots of poor countries that are getting a bit richer. All of that's great. And actually, one of the reasons I said we should vote for Brexit was to get ourselves out of an outdated customs union which forbade us from making our own trade deals across the world. So it can be good. The problem is what globalism has become. And the European Union, in a sense, is a prototype for what Hillary Clinton and some of the big Wall Street banks want to see, namely, where individual nation states effectively give up their democratic rights, give up the supremacy of their courts, and hand it all over to a higher global order that wants to homogenize, harmonize, make everything the same. And what it's done, it's played into the hands of the giant multinationals and done nothing for small and medium-sized enterprises. So I believe this. I believe that individual nation states can make trade deals, can cooperate together. We need to live in a world where we work with each other, but not one in which we give away our democratic rights.
Well, you talk about these big multinationals, and you talk about bankers and the like. Goldman Sachs was a big boogeyman of Donald Trump's and of Bernie Sanders, for that matter,
yes.
On the campaign trail. President-elect Trump's nominee for Secretary of the Treasury is a former Goldman Sachs executive, and there are obviously a number of financiers and turnaround experts and the like that are anticipated to be in his cabinet. Does that concern you at all?
No, because actually what Goldman Sachs do is they employ brilliant people. No one's doubting that Goldman aren't clever and aren't very good at what they do. What I doubt is the political motive behind what they do. I mean, look, you know, I'm from Europe. I mean, Greece joined the euro on the basis of a report put together by Goldman Sachs. And when the Prime Minister of Greece was removed a few years ago, who was the new nominee? A former Goldman Sachs director. They've been allowed, through this process, simply to have too much power.
But you're not concerned about a former Goldman executive to be Treasury Secretary here in the United States?
No, I'm not, because actually, you know, you will find somebody who was incredibly well trained and will be very, very intelligent.
You personally offered your assistance to the UK government to help mend fences with President-elect Trump. Does the UK have a bad relationship with the US right now, or is this more particular to Mr. Trump?
There are two things. Firstly, you know, the special relationship, as we called it for decades, during Obama's time, did slip away. I think Obama looked towards Germany, really, as being the most important country in Europe, and he saw the United Kingdom's role as being part of a European political project, rather than seeing us as an independent state. So I'm hoping to press the reset button on this relationship.
Watch out, that's not a good precedent to reset. But anyway,
okay, fine.
You know what I mean.
But you know, we voted for Brexit. So we are going to be an independent country again. We've got an incoming president who is an Anglophile. His mother was a Scot. He feels very strongly about it. So, yeah, I'm very positive, you know, about this relationship. And one of the first things we can do to prove that the anti-globalist movement isn't insular, isn't small-minded, is for the US and the UK to put a trade deal together.
I do wonder, because both you and your Brexit team and Mr. Trump, President-elect Trump, and a small part of his political base have been criticized for being bigots, for being xenophobes. By no means am I saying that everybody who voted for Brexit is that way, or that even a vast majority of the people who voted for Donald Trump are that way. But there is this element. Why do you think they are attracted to the Brexit forces and to the Trump forces?
Well, if I look at Europe as a whole and look at these, you know, the Eurosceptic movements that are saying the euro is a bad thing, that control from Brussels is a bad thing, they're manifesting themselves on left and right. You know, it is a left-wing party, for example, in Greece that won the election, and there are, you know, right-wing parties in the north of Europe. Look, if you take away from people their democratic rights, their feeling that they're in control of their own future, they will go anywhere they can, you know, to try and find a solution. I can say this to you, hand on heart. When we debated Brexit, you know, we didn't even mention Islam. We didn't even talk about some of those cultural issues. What we did talk about was that it's sensible to control borders, it's sensible to vet who comes to your country, and I would reject utterly and totally any allegations of deliberately pandering to extremism. And I was pleased that Donald Trump did, call these people down and say, stop it.
But you did talk about immigration and you did talk about refugees.
But that's a respectable thing to do. And we got to such a crazy place where actually, I was told 10 years ago, please, when you go on television, don't talk about immigration, don't talk about border controls. Only bad people do this. And what we've had to do is shift the centre of political gravity and mean that we do talk about it and do so sensibly.